Hello and welcome to another edition of the Crypto Club and Digital Assets weekly catch up on Zoom. It is Sunday, the 30th of March 2025, and as is always the case, we never quite know what we're going to be discussing in these sessions. Really depends on who shows up. Typically, though, we'll cover things like blockchain, DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, TGEs, lots of the three-letter acronyms that you may know of or you may not, in which case, stick around and learn some more. We also talk about crypto projects that are going on, news in the overall marketplace, and even cover things like regulation and central bank digital currencies. If you enjoy this, do click on like, subscribe to the channel, but even better, come along to a future session. We hold these every week, Sunday evening, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. UK time, and everyone's welcome, novice and expert alike. So with that, let's see who's going to come and join us today. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you are.
Hey, Gary.
Hi,
Hey
Stuart.
Gary,
Hey, Rebecca. Hey,
how's it going?
Gabriella. It's good, it's good. How,
Great.
how's everyone today? So we've got our high level of Spanish representation there, and I guess that's, is it Madrid covered off nicely with Rebecca and Gabriella?
It is Gary. That's
Yeah.
because the sun is out finally. That's why we're joining today.
And we're joined by a couple of new faces as well. I see Daniel's just joined us. Hi, Daniel. Daniel, where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from Southeast Asia. Yeah, I left London after about 15 years. Back to Malaysia.
Okay.
But yeah, been quite active in the space in the past. Lately, been taking a lot of breaks. Yeah,
Okay.
it's good
Well,
to meet you all.
it'd be really interesting to learn a little bit more about your experiences of crypto and so on in Malaysia, because I know certainly in South Korea and those kind of areas, there's a lot of interest in crypto around gaming and that kind of thing. Be fascinated about your insights around the Malaysian marketplace as well, particularly because the regulatory perspective in Malaysia and Singapore, Hong Kong, so all the Far East is pretty good, as I understand it. So maybe we can chat some more about that soon. So
Yes, yes.
welcome aboard. Okay, and we're joined by Emmy as well. Hello, Emmy. Or am I saying that right? This is where Emmy is now struggling for the mute button. Emmy's going to stay quiet for now. That's fair enough. Cool. Okay. Daniel, so what's your kind of interest in the crypto space then?
For me in the past was hosting up technical workshops for developers in the space, building up when Ethereum was very busy and hot in 2017, 18, 19 days.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, yeah, and now in Asia, I think the scene is quite different. Was trying to get active in the technical space as well, but it seems developers here are having a very different focus. So I think in terms of experience, I mean, yeah, it varies. So varies from individuals to individuals. In terms of collective experience, I think there's still a lot more that yeah, I think there are some regions that provides more exposure, or certain parts of, certain cities also would provide more exposure, but somehow I've not been exposed too much from it here yet.
Okay. So from a Malaysia perspective, then, is all of the crypto expertise and knowledge in one city or one region or anything, or is it spread across?
I think it spreads right across, and there's not much of support, I would say, from the centralized institutions and organizations,
Hmm.
as much as you would get. I think yeah, a lot of backing, at least private equity backing or VC backing from Europe. But I mean, when I was in Europe, a lot of small startups would um, get backing, but here rarely you would find it really.
What's the kind of entrepreneurial scene like then? Like the VC, the investor community, is that active in this area, Are they
They,
investing in startups or are they investing in the cryptos?
so I think they're investing a lot in startups, but not necessarily blockchain and crypto startups per se. It's more towards, I mean, within the FSI space, I think it's more towards the larger institutions and higher growth, established organizations rather than small groups of people trying to develop something new. Whether you're trying to work out a new protocol or a new framework, or some sort. Yeah, so it's less from that perspective.
Okay.
Mm.
It's kind of interesting because you find that
It is.
there are certainly clusters around the world.
Yeah.
London will always claim it's a leader in the space. You've got obviously Silicon Valley, so Stuart's with us, California. You find Singapore, Hong Kong. I mentioned those before, very very much because they've got regulators who seem to be a little bit more aligned. I was just curious with Malaysia again whether it was all clustered in one area or whether it's spread throughout. But it
Gary,
sounds
that
like
kind. Sorry,
go
I
ahead,
was going
go for it.
to say that overview by Daniel is very, very accurate. I look at various cities around the world because we're looking at where to deploy capital, where to put in venture studios, and we look at the secondary capital market as well. And I would take London off the map if I could, simply because once you've gone past seed funding, you're dealing with people who are not venture capitalists. They're more like accountants. They're not interested in any type of risk that I can see. And you've seen that from Cambridge groups as well, complaining about that. And I think the same is true in Malaysia. It's a relatively small country. You've got a lot of business in KL, but very little in the outskirts. So it's good, but you're looking at an educated workforce, but there's not a lot of money flowing there in terms of venture capitalism in this space, blockchain, so on.
So
Do you agree with that, Daniel?
Yes, I've been back for about a year, almost 2 years now. I mean, So for 1 year, I was very active doing the business studies and whatnot. But after the 1 year or so, I've realized a lot of entrepreneurs within this space or this sort of technology sector or area, they're quite innovative, and a lot comes from places like Bangkok. Kuala Lumpur and Singapore stays relatively quiet.
Yes.
In terms of educational front, so there are a couple of universities. I was doing some work with the payment company, organization somehow owned by Central Bank Malaysia. How they had a couple collaborations throughout Southeast Asia. Still, with blockchain and crypto per se, I think a lot of things are still very centralized, and they're not. A lot of things have still not been married. Like how you would see it in London or even in Paris or Berlin. You would see more technical things going around Berlin, but for within Southeast Asia, I think Malaysia and Singapore, even in Singapore, they're very quiet. Even on a business setting, you would rarely get big front opportunities that you would be widely available in Europe. Even down to Spain or Portugal. So I think it's quite interesting to see a wide range of differences. But in terms of technicalities, so where do people find expertise? They're scattered. They're not really in Kuala Lumpur per se. So you get developers in different places, remote. they are hungry, and there's a very different setup and system. I mean, yeah, economic scale and financial systems here. So I think it's quite difficult for developers here. I think it's similar across maybe South America or even in Africa region, where they don't have the social security netting to support people's economic lifestyle. So because of that, developers tend to work on the needs to move on with whatever they carry on in their lives, which somehow I would say their mindset. I have spoken to a few of them in some of the so-called technical meetups here. I've yet to actually hear them speak about very technical things. I mean, technical things. I mean, as in software programming details. Whereas I think if there were opportunities that they can that were given, or if there were opportunities of such that I think a lot of these experts, well, I wouldn't call that experts, but a lot of these professionals would be able to sort of create more innovations around the space to help naturally things to progress in various directions, but we don't really get to see that here. Whereas they're more interested in the gaming side of things. But in terms of gaming, I think South Korea and even the Chinese are taking a very huge lead on that front. Yeah.
And I guess that kind of links ultimately as well that certain markets are very much into the gambling side of things as well.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a connection with that. So it's really interesting insight. Thanks, Daniel. Just wanted to check as well. With you joining today, is there anything you in particular you'd like to talk about or share, or you're here to listen and learn, or whatever?
Myself, I'm here to learn. And I've not been checking in within the community. And I think for yourself, I think I met you a very long time ago. I think this was pre-COVID. During the meetup days where WeWork were going to, WeWork and Uber were going boom and bust in those days before COVID. And yeah, most of us were very skeptical of even Bitcoins and the hardware wallets in those days. A few of us were carrying it around, if I'm not mistaken. You were also carrying it in your bag, and we were like, wasn't even sure if people were going to, just take our bags away. That's much that I recall. But I think the scene nowadays, before I came back from the UK to Southeast Asia and been around, I think a lot of things have changed. And even from the public perspective to even the developers communities, how things are. I think a lot of change. We've not been keeping in touch and update on it. Yeah.
I think there's been some maturing, certainly, that there's increased awareness in the wider public community. That I think pretty much everyone's heard of crypto now and Bitcoin. They might still not really know what it is or how it works or what benefits it brings, but most people have kind of heard of it by now. Whereas, as you say, in the earlier days when we were first doing stuff, it was almost like a secret payment thing that no one kind of like knew about. So it's definitely evolved, and governments are getting more interested as well.
What's one very interesting thing that I've realized the recent days, I'm not sure about everyone else, is that in the early days, I mean 2000 maybe 13, even 14 onwards, still Bitcoin was considered as a permissionless space to operate transactions, however you want to pay whoever you wish. In the recent years, or even in the past few months, if so, I'm not sure about crypto and blockchain, but even through Bitcoin, I think a lot of news or people around with news putting up where Bitcoin is less permissionless nowadays. So it's acting very much like how maybe a CBDC would work, or so, because it's permission based, right? It's more like a debit or credit card. You need permission to do the transaction. So I'm not sure, like, yeah, is it still permissionless, or um, is it something that communities around are reconsidering other methods?
I,
Yeah.
I'll throw in an opinion and open it up to everybody else for their thoughts as well. But I still consider cryptocurrencies to be in an experimental phase, and I
Mm,
think that they're an experiment in culture, in governance, and in technology. And I think what the experiments have proved is that the technology works, but the governance and the culture is not quite there. So that the whole concept of a permissionless cryptocurrency where you can make payments without a third party, I think we've proved you can do that. However, is it permissionless or is it decentralized? Well, it's certainly not decentralized when the majority of Bitcoin is owned by Grayscale and BlackRock, and it's certainly not decentralized when most payments go through major exchanges. So I would argue it's not as decentralized as people think. Stuart, I don't know, was that a
Yeah, I
kind of
was
a different
grimacing at some of
perspective?
your things.
Yeah.
It is essentially a permissionless blockchain. Um, the fact that BlackRock own a certain amount of it doesn't make it centralized. That means
Mm-hmm.
you've just got one huge user. Um, it's permissionless in the sense that you still need to go through KYC AML to deal with it. And I assume everyone knows what KYC AML is. Know Your Customer and American Money Laundering Act. But the one fault of every single blockchain out there and every currency out there is that they're deflationary and they're on a race to zero. We are launching on April the 1st, and this is not an advert or anything like that, the Prasaga blockchain. And we have Stephen Moore as our chief economist. Stephen is advisor to President Trump. We've also had Lawrence White write our tokenomics for us. He's with George Washington University, I believe, has a book out called something about the gold standard. But what we've done with our currency is to make it so that you can buy a gallon of milk in Kuala Lumpur, for example, for whatever currency we're using, the Saga coin. And the same value would be in India, the same value would be in the UK. And so we've made the currency more like, or our coin operate more like a country's currency with its own GDP. And the GDP is based on the flow of traffic through the blockchain. So we don't decay. For example, in the UK or in the US, $100 or £100 10 years ago bought a heck of a lot more than it does today, which means that the currency is deflationary. I think I've got that right way around. Economists may correct me. Our idea is to have a sustainable currency that doesn't decay with time. Now, whether it works or not, I don't know. I'm being told so by the economic advisors we have, the economists and so on. But that's the
So,
closest we can get to it.
so we kind of explore that a bit further then. So what we're saying, if I understand correctly, is if we go for a liter of milk, and we
Yes.
say, right, a litre of milk in the UK is going to cost 5 units of whatever
Mm-hmm.
the cryptocurrency is. But if I was to
Mm-hmm.
buy a litre of milk in Sarawak or
Yeah,
Kuala Lumpur,
Sarawak's a good place. Yeah.
it would be 5 units.
It would be 5 units of currency. That
Yeah.
is the thought. Now,
Okay.
whether that gets you a higher price because Sarawak it only costs certain difference. If we use fiat currency, it may only cost 50 cents or 50 pence, whereas in England, it costs a pound, for example. I know you can't get a litre for a pound.
But if we extend it further, so what you've got
Mhm.
is a universal value exchange whereby
Correct.
it's effectively pegged against the actual asset that you're buying or product you're buying. But you also
Mhm.
said that it's also not deflationary, I think, by which I think you mean in 5 years' time, a litre of milk will still cost 5 units. Is that right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
The idea is to try and stabilize pricing.
Mhm.
It's more for enterprise and business than anything else. So, for example, I'm in the States and I want to order 100 gearboxes from Daniel. He can give me a price in Saga coin that he feels comfortable with based on his fiat pricing and so on. And then when it gets here, I know exactly what that exchange rate is to the dollar, for example. Now, in 5 years' time, are we going to have inflation, deflation? Yes, we are. We expect that because that's just the way of the world. But we're adjusting not against the US dollar, we're adjusting against initially a whole basket of currencies. And as we get more transactions on, we will actually run it as a GDP for the entire network. And then we'll adjust it based on the GDP of the network, which is based on the flow of transactions through the network. So it operates more like its own country.
So it's kind of like a stable coin where it's stabilized against a basket of fiat currencies then. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, but it is not technically a stable coin
Okay.
because stable coin usually anchors against one currency, US dollar.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Well, let's open it up then. Any other thoughts on? We've got Ken who's joined us, who I know is always interested more on the blockchain layer.
Yeah.
Or Ken, how are things with you?
Oh, not too bad. I was just thinking about how they're going to really stabilize their coin, because that's a big issue that a lot of other blockchains have tried to resolve and so far haven't. It's complicated because you have outside actors always trying to arbitrage currencies and tokens to make money. And that's where the biggest problem has been previously, how to basically defend against the arbitrage community. That's to do with with the fact that once you have it, for example, just take the simplest thing, Bitcoin. Bitcoin at the moment, though, when we look at it, we look at I don't know, CoinGecko or whatever. The price we see there tends to be a price mainly for Western countries. But if you go to developing countries, you usually have a premium on the price of Bitcoin, simply because a lot of people in developing countries don't trust their currency because of inflation. And so you've got that premium where, you have like middlemen effectively who make money. They tend to be exchanges basically by moving those Bitcoins between different jurisdictions. I think one of the founders of one of the biggest, used to be one of the biggest exchanges, he said he got his start by arbitraging currency, Bitcoin between Hong Kong and China, because he realized that taking a bus into China, and he was just doing that once a week, and that's how he managed to make a lot of money and get in the business. So that is it's definitely an issue, and I'm definitely going to be interested to see how you guys are going to handle it, because that is definitely something that has been a thorn within the community for a very long time, And yeah, it's good to see that you guys are trying to tackle that issue.
Maybe it's something we've got Rebecca with us, and Rebecca, I know, is into the trading space, and so I'm sure arbitrage is an opportunity. Rebecca, you got any thoughts on Saga Coin that Stuart's talking about?
Well, Gary, I gotta say one thing before anything else. I know that we are usually the bad guys on everything, but maybe people forget that without us, there is actually no market. So before we keep, keeping trash on the traders and such, I do agree that there is a premium in certain countries on any kind of coin, but it's not just because of lack of trust. It's also an opportunity to make some extra money. Most of these countries have great inflation on their official currency, so they're trying to do the same with any other currency that shows up. So if you have, for example, in Argentina, you find that the price of Bitcoin is quite different than the one in the spot trading. And they're used to having inflation, so exchanges take that opportunity to inflate the price of cryptocurrencies as well. But let's not forget that you always have direct access to the blockchain, and if they can access the blockchain and access certain websites where you can actually trade your cryptocurrencies directly peer-to-peer as it was initially thought of, you could actually avoid these inflationary prices from exchanges. I have derailed from the main subject though, but that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
I'm going to actually defend trading as well, Rebecca. That I think it is essential that for a market to exist, there has to be a market. You need buyers and sellers, you need traders, and also active traders quite often provide the liquidity in the market. That means it's actually possible to have a market. Totally get that. So yeah, I'm not being critical and saying that traders are bad people. They're a necessary part of it, definitely.
Well, I mean, without traders, we wouldn't have had the industry. I mean, I think it's the traders who actually funded the actual rise of cryptocurrencies and allowed all the testing and development and all the experiments that have happened. Like what can I say? Was it Luna or Terra Luna that what depegged and stuff like that? I mean, a lot of money was lost, but it's generally most of the people lost money there were traders who'd made money obviously on other trades. So it allows the system to experiment basically, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not going to disagree with any of that. I do find it interesting of a multi-currency basket of assets over time as well. It just feels as though trying to stabilize without it being a stable coin.
So we're running that for the first 7 years. And we expect inflation in the first 7 years. Then we believe that there'll be sufficient volume on the net that we can fully implement our tokenomics.
Well, let me think. Was it Facebook? They had the same kind of thing, didn't they? Before the government shut them down, but they wanted theirs to be a basket of currencies, didn't they?
Yeah.
Facebook was always an interesting one.
They're based in the US as well. That's another issue.
Yeah, I always describe Facebook and Libra, as the project was known at one point, as being potentially the biggest crypto project that never was, because it was killed off by commercial influence, government influence, and all sorts of other influence before it ever really got anywhere. So I do wonder if it was actually one of these projects that was just floated up as an idea in order to intentionally get shot down in the first place. So interesting one. But Stuart, you're saying that with your project, it's not US based. Is that right? You said?
Correct. We're registered as registered in Zug in Switzerland.
Okay.
So I was just going to say.
Foundation.
So I was just going to say about Facebook. What did come out of it that was very positive was the Move programming language. So you've got SUI and stuff like that. They're all written on the language that was invented by Facebook, and obviously when they disbanded the project, they had a team of very intelligent people working there, and they just split. I mean, so you've got SUI. I can't remember what the other one is, the other blockchain that came out of it, but two big blockchains came out of it, and they're out. They raised a lot of money, obviously, because they're ex Facebook. But the programming language itself, the protocols, Move is actually it's basically, it reminds me of sort of like TypeScript. So it's kind of like security first.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like writing, I don't know, like Solidity, where, it's just, Solidity is like JavaScript, you can write whatever you want, and it will run, but it will have so many holes in it. And so that's the positive about SUI. Move, sorry.
Yeah, that was the thing that always amazed me as well about crypto coins or tokens rather, that were smart contract based, where when they were launching them, there was a big deal put out about the auditing of them. And the auditing was actually quite often simply, were there any security glitches that were in place? And I always found it fascinating speaking to some people who said, oh yeah, our token's fully audited, it works, blah, blah, blah. And you go, all you've actually done is you've made sure that all the patches have been applied, and you've made sure that you're not doing certain bad programming practices, but you've not checked at any point whether it does anything illegitimate. You've not checked, is there something that says on the 1st of April, pay Gary 10% of this? All you did was you were checking to make sure it didn't use certain opcodes or whatever. So I was never quite impressed with that. So interesting anyway. Sorry, Stuart, you're about to add there.
Yeah, well, we're not using smart contracts. We're using smart assets. So we're going object-oriented, where we have classes and objects, counts, and so on. Totally different approach, which I think your generation, you'll still remember object-oriented programming.
I was about to say the Three Amigos, which for those who know about object orientation and that kind of thing, yeah.
And it's written in Python, a modified Python, which we're hardening at the moment. And we've used Golang as well, because Python won't do certain things that we need it to.
Okay. So presumably after next week, you're going to be able to tell us much more about this after you've launched. In fact, I'm surprised if you got launched this week that you've even got the time to come along today.
No, it's next week.
Okay.
So I'll be sitting on my yacht in the Mediterranean, as they say.
I mean, which day is it launching?
We've chosen April the 1st. Yeah, I please, there's been enough comments about that.
It's one of those things that I think it's almost worth delaying by 24 hours just so that it's not April the 1st, which people always cast doubt on. Well, wish it well.
In
see
our
how it
chat
goes.
channel, thank you. In our chat channel, people are suggesting that we delay it. So tomorrow morning, C-suite meeting, we'll make a decision.
Cool. Well, we watch and wait with interest and see what goes on with that.
Absolutely.
So, cool. Okay. So great. So we're already halfway through this week's session, really. So I just wanted to check: has anyone got anything else that they'd like to discuss, raise, question, or anything? Rebecca's come on camera. That's always a good sign.
Hi, Gary. So I do have an announcement as well. I'm launching my asset manager in Switzerland on April the 30th. So I'm quite excited about that. It's gonna be a mixed strategy. We're gonna use derivatives and we're gonna on crypto, and we're gonna use traditionals as well. Mostly because the Switzerland government did not allow us to go 100% derivatives, which it was what we wanted, but yeah, not gonna happen. Governments are not always keen on crypto, especially on very risky assets. And yeah, that's it. We are very, very pleased to finally take the step. We'll see how it goes. And
So,
then,
so what is it exactly you're launching, Rebecca? Just
oh, it's
talk it through for people.
it's an asset manager. So it's, there's hedge funds, there's family offices, there's a bunch of different regulatory suites that you can choose from. We chose asset manager to begin with. Because legally it makes more sense and it allowed us more freedom of trading. But so anybody, it's handling third parties capital, so people can invest in the asset manager company. We can provide yields, we can provide hedging strategies for all the family offices, all the hedge funds using derivatives. It's gonna be like a hedge fund, but the regulatory process that we have is different than hedge funds. But most asset managers, people understand that that's hedge funds because it's just managing third parties' capital.
So you acting as an advisory to the hedge funds or as a custodian?
None of those. We actually manage the capital. So we do provide service to institutionals. For example, there are certain crypto hedge funds who do not want to touch derivatives. So what they do is instead of learning how to do it and risking it themselves, they usually just invest in other companies, other asset managers, hedge fund, family offices in the crypto space who do use derivatives. So we're going to be providing that service for traditional institutionals like banks, family offices and such, crypto hedge funds, and in a lesser capacity to retailers. We're more focused on institutionals because we are offering a very volatile and risky product. So, it's more focused for the institutional side. But yeah, that's what we are launching. So we're quite happy about it.
So that's 30th of April then. So we need you to come on at some point and do our gone in 3 minutes or gone in 180 second session where I'll actually time you for you to give a walkthrough of everything over 3 minutes, and we can cover that. That'd be really interesting. Well, in the meantime, look forward to that. You're launching that in Switzerland, you say. So Switzerland's pretty good with is it FINRA, the regulator there. They seem quite switched on.
FINRA, yeah.
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 And it's interesting that they seem to be a little bit more open to things like derivatives, as you say. Whereas in the UK, the FCA took a look at crypto derivatives and just banned them from retail use.
Well, we did the same in Europe though with the MiCA law. We are now banned.
Okay. Well, as soon as you say Micah, we've got JT who's just joined us. I'm sure he'll have an opinion on that at some point.
But also in Switzerland, we have the Crypto Valley, which is actually what made us go for Switzerland instead of other jurisdictions. They are quite open, not only to derivatives, but to the entire crypto industry. They have a few unicorns in the crypto space in the SOC canton, which is totally focused on crypto development. So I'll let you know Sunday by Sunday how it's going, but I hope it's going to go well.
Yeah. Well, so Stuart was mentioning that a foundation in Zug, so pretty much the same thing. I think of Zug and Crypto Valley as being the same thing. I think it's the same building, isn't it?
Yes. Good luck, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you so much, Stuart.
Excellent. So that's really good news. So there's 2 launches to watch out for in the next few weeks. Then is it Saga Coin, Stuart? Did you say?
Yes, Saga Coin. The network is Prasaga.
ProSaga. Cool.
Prasaga.
Prasaga. Okay. Cool.
Yes.
So there we go. That's a couple of interesting things going on. That's really good. So opening it up again then. Other things to discuss. JT's just joined us. Annie's staying quiet today, which normally by now I'd have expected a question coming in or something. Ken, you still working on your Ethereum spin-off? Should we just
I mean, we're still working with the research team. We're still trying to see how to basically get execution sharding, which is obviously extremely difficult. That's why everybody's moving on to layer 2s. But yes, moving
Do
on.
you want to, Ken, do you want to talk to us offline? Because that's what we're doing.
Execution charting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'll drop my contact in the chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't you love it in sessions like this where it acts as its own little community of connecting and everything when we get that? That's fantastic. That's really good. Annie's come off camera, on camera. So that means it's time for Annie to join in, and I'm sure she's going to ask some great questions here.
Two great questions, actually. So what Stuart has just agreed on doing things off the call, it would be probably something that would be nice for the rest of us to learn. Secondly, it's nice to see a fellow Malaysian on the call. So it would be a question for Daniel. So recently I have seen apparently the crypto company from Indonesia is invading the east of the rest of the Borneo Island. Kind of curious as to what you know about that, or you know anything about it.
Daniel, is that something you're familiar with?
It's probably gone to sleep. I mean, it is sleeping hours.
I was going to say,
I'm not quite sure how he managed to get on the call, I have to say.
No, actually, I would reserve comment on this just yet, because Borneo is, I mean, there are a lot of things happening around Indonesia, but I don't think it's going far and wide just yet. Yeah. But if I hear of anything, I'll be able to let the group know.
Yeah, because obviously they have drawn a map that looks like as if the rest of Borneo Island belongs to them. So that was my curiosity. So thanks.
Sure.
Oh, it's great to actually have people in different regions as well, isn't it? It's like having our own little communications network or intelligence network. That's really interesting stuff. Cool. Okay, in that case then, is there anything else in the market that's going on? I've not had a chance to take a look at any crypto news, so I'll open it up. JT, you've always got your finger on the pulse of interesting stuff, which you usually leave until the last minute, and it's usually some brilliant, deep thing. So, JT, welcome, and any news to share?
Hi guys. No, it's pretty much a quiet week, wasn't it? Apart from the chaos in the US, but apart from that, I think crypto is fairly quiet week. I think the only thing I can remember this week was, I think, a strategy announced another 500 million.
Who was that?
Strategy.
Okay.
MicroStrategy.
Oh, MicroStrategy. Okay.
It's called now Strategy.
Okay.
We're raising another 500 million. And I think also Coinbase, rumors that they're going to acquire Deribit. That was pretty much it that I can remember.
And there was one other thing, and this might be a little bit left field, and it's Elon Musk. And I noticed he announced a few days ago that they are merging XAI, which is his AI research company, and X, which is the rebranded Twitter. And they're putting both of those organizations together, which I thought was really interesting. And there's a crypto connection there, because a lot of people don't realize that X, or as it was Twitter, has actually got a crypto payments channel built into it. So what you've now got is this mega organization, again part of the Musk empire, which is integrating AI and global messaging on a phenomenal scale, and a crypto payments layer, which, given that Elon Musk previously, a lot of his money was made out of when he was involved in PayPal, means he's clearly got an interest in the payment space. So I just wonder if that's going to spin off something. I know everyone, when you talk about Elon Musk and crypto, you think about Doge, because Dogecoin as it was, which is curious how all of a sudden he got brought into Trump's kind of government space around the Department of Government Efficiency, which just so happens to be Doge. So that was rather far-sighted of having a crypto coin that was named after a department that didn't exist a while ago. But I just find it interesting that I find Musk sometimes moves into these spaces tangentially in some way. And it'll be interesting to see what this merger of XAI and X.com can kind of bring out on the crypto space.
I forgot one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an eye on Launch Lab. So Launch Lab, it's Radium. It's a DEX on Solana. Radium.
Yeah.
It's developing this launchpad. It's a meme coin launchpad, so it's going to compete with Pump Fun. It was not enough to have one. Now we're going to have a Launch Lab copy of Pump Fun because Radium is pretty big. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been in the news a lot lately. That compared to Pump.Fun, but I think the meme coin kind of market is died down a little bit. It's not been as big as it was before. I think basically these markets kind of died down when celebrities kind of get in. You know, you've got Trump's put their coin in there, and you've got I think Melania Trump, his wife as well, has got a meme coin out.
Mm-hmm.
So I would, it'd be interesting to see what the volumes are. But I suggest the volumes have gone down.
It's going to return. When markets go down, everything goes down, as you know, yeah? But I keep telling people they will never disappear for one simple reason. People are greedy. Humans are greedy. That's it. They know they can't make 1,000, 2,000x on investing in Ethereum or Bitcoin or something else. So people are going to continue to be greedy with that prospect of becoming rich, like they hear of so many people being rich in crypto. That's all it is. It's a human nature.
So it's always an incentive, isn't it? to but I think the other thing, going back to the meme coins and that going quiet, it's like everything else I've seen several times in crypto, where you go through waves, and it may have originally been a crypto wave, then an ICO wave, smart contract wave. You seem to go through these iterations, and we had it at one point where like gaming tokens were massive at one point, and there were various gaming companies who were moving into that space, and that kind of died away. Then you had things like celebrity tokens or loyalty point tokens. So, it sounded at one point as though every basketball, football, and whatever ball team was going to have its own loyalty token in some way, and that kind of died off. And then you had it, there were like music tokens at one point, where bands were launching their own crypto tokens, if I remember correctly. Then we've had the NFT wave. It's a shame Elena's not on today, talking about the
NFTs are going to come back big time, because I keep telling people you have to look, you have to go back and look after initial Bitcoin, Ethereum, we had the ICOs, right? That's when everything really started to go to a different level. And the ICOs was the first phase of DeFi, okay? The second phase is always the biggest one. And it was in 2021, DeFi was huge. Okay? Started in summer of 2020, and then it did stop across the entire 2021. So the same happened for layer ones and layer twos. Yeah? It was huge in 2021, and they continue, not as huge as people were expecting, but so there was a second wave. I think the next wave on on NFTs is about to erupt. Okay.
Do you think it's going to be RWAs by any chance? Just to stick with
They
the
will
three
have,
letter
I think
acronyms?
they will have a big component, but I think it's going to be a lot more fun. Okay. And there's only two things that need to be solved. One is the intrinsic value of NFTs. Okay. At the moment is whatever value you think your NFT is worth, you put it out for sale. Okay. So that needs to be solved. That's problem. It's not really a problem, but they need to start with intrinsic value so it can actually be more exciting. And the second one is liquidity. It's a very illiquid market. NFTs. You could own an NFT and own it for 100 years and nobody buys it from you. Simple as that. Okay, it's not like a token where you can just go to a DEX or a SEX and they sell it. That's it. It's gone. Okay, so transforming that and making it to be an attractive liquid market is the key to success. And as I can tell, it's going to happen. It's going to start to happen the next couple of months. Okay? I'll tell you more. I'll tell you more when I'm cooking, so that's why I'm telling you that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the other thing as well. That if my WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram feeds or anything to go by, then we're about to see a re-emergence of real estate, real world asset tokenization again. Because I've seen, I think, about 4 announcements in the last couple of weeks. So we had, was it Excavate, who were on a couple of weeks ago, talking about the tokenization of real estate.
We have Anthony
coming
from
through.
TPX as well doing a great job,
Yeah,
really fantastic job.
We've got Stuart's an advisor to TPX, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So I've seen in the last week or so about 3 or 4 announcements of real estate tokenization projects. So it's almost as though there's a reenactment of that buzz in its own way. But then previously I've seen about, I think when I counted it once, over 60 real estate tokenization projects that have come and gone. And each of them is a little bit different. So we'll see whether
we're going to see some really big new things come. It's not just new matters, but it's a lot more than that. We're going to see celebrity coins returning, but it's not going to be around meme coins. We're going to have some exciting new stuff. Okay, I'm working at the moment with a very famous Hollywood star actor. Okay, so we might do some really cool stuff on that as well. I can't reveal much at the moment, but still we don't know if we're going to go ahead or not. We're still debating. So we are at that stage, but if he goes, it will be super interesting. So
cool. So
when I'm ready to speak about it, I will. So he might not go anywhere, but if he goes, I think it will be quite amazing.
So we'll keep an eye out for the Hollywood coin or something similar.
No, definitely not. Absolutely not.
It's a JT in a circle coin, where you have to be known to be known. Excellent. That's good. Okay, folks, we've only got 5 minutes left. So anything anyone would like to share, any other news or developments, or any questions for that matter? The floor is yours.
Well, I got something very quickly. Earlier, I think it was JT or Stuart said that Coinbase is planning on acquiring Deribit. I gotta say, I've been thinking of actually suing Deribit because last month, within 12 hours notice, they notified all of us institutional investors that they were gonna include margin calls to option trading, which is something that nobody does, not even traditional markets, because options do not have margin calls. As a result, and obviously the market was dropping, we incurred in tremendous losses. So when I say we, it's not just me, but our derivative market incurred in tremendous losses. So if it goes, I hope that Deribit will go back to be ethical, as it should be. because this is a market that is planned to be peer-to-peer and completely transparent, and you cannot pull that in this market. Like, that's not the way to go. So if they do, I hope Deribit goes back to the track, and if they buy it, but it still remains with margin calls and options, I think eventually it's gonna be bankrupt. Many of us are planning on exiting the platform. The one thing that they're benefiting from is the fact that European companies are banned from derivative trading. So many providers like Binance are not operating in the market. So if you're European and you're trading derivatives, for example, our companies in Switzerland, so we are not bound by the MiCA law. We can exit Deribit once all of our positions are done. But there are many investors who are now linked to Deribit because there's no other way to do things. But the minute somebody else steps into the market and is willing to do what Deribit does, then there's gonna be a bunch of investors exiting the platform. That's all I want to say.
Well, one to watch out for then. I shared a few moments ago as well a link to something where there was the announcement and talk about Coinbase's possible bid on Deribit, although it did say Coinbase was staying quiet about it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, there's a reason why they're doing it, right? I'm a true believer that a lot of these big players, they are insiders. They know what's going to come with the US laws and the SEC. So of course, derivatives is going to be a big play, you know. There's no doubt whatsoever. So Coinbase said, what is the fastest way for us? Acquire Deribit. It's as simple as that. I don't know what the problems you are having with Deribit, but it will be a bit premature, you know. And I would, it's not advice, by the way, but I would just keep an eye and see what happens with Coinbase first, you know, and make a decision after. Just so simple. If it was announced, that means they're probably talking already for quite some time. You
know? As they say,
and I don't know.
Buy on the rumor, sell on the news.
Exactly that. So who knows what's going to happen?
Oh, okay. Annie, were you about to ask something with coming on camera there?
I just want to say something. I think both Binance and Bybit are no longer operating in the UK because they are not actually complying with FCA.
It's an interesting observation. And certainly I think that the feedback I've had of people is that it is getting harder and harder at the moment in the UK to actually simply just get involved in the crypto market. So an unfortunate position, particularly given that the government's saying that it's trying to innovate and encourage things. That's a conversation for another day. So
I tried today to go to Gate.io. They don't know, you cannot do it anywhere. You know, you just can't. None of the exchanges. You just can't register. You can't create an account. I was trying to use some other exchanges. It's very hard, you know.
So with that, not a great thing for the crypto world at the moment. We're gonna have to close off, I'm afraid. Well, at least the positive thing was that we did hear about some good news things coming along. So Saga Coin and developing with that, and Rebecca with her new and latest innovation, and we'll hear more about that in the coming weeks as well. So wish everyone well. Thanks for joining us. Really wide range of things covering there. So Daniel, in particular, thanks very much for contributing the perspective of the Far East market and Malaysia and so on as well. That's really good. So thank you everyone for joining. It's a little bit easier with the clocks being an hour closer now, which is fantastic. So have a great day, everybody. Cheers for now. Bye.
Great day, Gary. Thank you.
Bye now.